So we'll go ahead and get tonight's meeting underway. So welcome everybody to the March 23rd Nantucket Conservation Commission meeting. This meeting is being held entirely remotely with participants participating via Zoom app. The public may participate via YouTube, and there's directions on the town's website describing how you can join. I ask that everybody on the call, please keep yourself muted if you're not speaking. If you are trying to speak, please raise your hand in the camera window or virtually and wait to be called on. When you are called on, please make sure to state your name and any relationship you have to a project, which would include an abutter address if you're an abutter. And with that, we will take public comment on items not being heard this evening. And it does appear that we have some public comment on YouTube. So we have Burton Ballkind wondering if there's an update on the status of the geotubes as far as sand being placed in front of the template to prevent the geotubes from acting as a hard armor erosion control project. He says, in addition, since the holder of the permit for the geotubes has been found to be out of compliance by the commission, are the core erosion control projects to the south out of compliance as well? And then he says just one more thing in regards to the house on Cribbing at the end of Hummock Pond Road 289. Is there any update on the status of that house as far as moving or being demolished? And I had that same question about the Hummock Pond Roadhouse for tonight. I don't know, Will, do you have any updates on those subjects that we could give the public?
I don't have any update on the Hummock Pond Road house, but we need to reach out and see if there's anything that has changed with that situation. And if not, we may need to do something to push something to happen over there.
Okay. And any updates from SBPF, like to your office as far as actually covering the tubes at this point?
Not that I know of, other than obviously sand didn't get put over the array in the 21-day period that we had requested.
Okay.
And I think there's still been no action over there.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And I think I'll probably bring up the Hummock Road again during enforcements, just to keep that going. Any other public comment with anybody on the call? All right, it looks like no. So we have the following continuances this evening under notices of intent. We have Nantucket Boathouse LLC at 2 and 6 Easton Street, continued until April 6th. Local Buoy Properties LLC at 15 Loretta Lane, continued until April 6th. Boathouse Realty Trust at 52 Warren's Landing Road, continued until April 6th. McLean at 100 Matacasham Valley Road, continued until April 6th. Nantucket Islands Land Bank, South Shore Beach, continued until April 6th. And then Nantucket Islands Land Bank at 261 Hummock Pond Road, also continued until April 6th. I believe that's all of our continuances for this evening. So we will open tonight under notices of intent with Sunset House LLC at 15 Hollowell Lane, represented by Mark Ritz.
Good afternoon, Mark Ritz from Site Design, along with Dan Bailey, representing the applicants at 15 Hallowell. Last meeting, we discussed this project in some detail. This is a request to repair the existing timber groin on the site. There were a few questions, I believe, specifically as things pertain to requirements to comply with the regulations or not, to waiver requests, et cetera. And I believe Dan Bailey submitted some additional information. And if Dan's on, I think he may want to speak to some of those issues, and then we can address any additional questions the commission has.
Yeah, I'm here, Mark. Thank you. Just briefly, I submitted a letter last week, and Commissioner Engelborg and I went back and forth, not for the first time at the last meeting, but about whether performance standards apply to pre-existing grandfathered uses. And I did, looked at the regulations again and realized that, there's a provision there that says that, that really kind of makes our discussion moot, because at section 1.03 F3D of the town's wetlands regulations, it states that the commission shall grant a waiver from these regulations when the work proposed is grandfathered and qualifies as a pre-existing use as defined in section 1.02. Section 1.02, which I know all the commissioners are familiar with, is that section that talks about uses and structures that were in existence prior to the date of the state act or the Nantucket wetlands bylaw, which is the case for this particular groin. So, as I said, maybe we can dispense with the debate, but you have an obligation to grant any waivers that might be necessary for this particular project. We have asked accordingly, we've asked for the following waivers: 2.02 B2, which is, and 2.01 B7, 2.05 B1 and 3. And those are waivers for bank, beach, and land under the ocean. And I don't have anything further.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And in reference to Mr. Bailey's points, the ability to get an opinion from our town council at this point seems unfortunately like it's not going to happen. And I think given the provision that he laid out to actually seek and grant those waivers rather than just simply trying to say, everything is allowed with pre-existing use is something I feel comfortable with. We'll have to talk about it in order of conditions, because I know right now the draft order is written with no waivers, but if we applied the waivers to this project that they're requesting, I think we could fall squarely within our regulatory authority to do that. And I think, interestingly, in my opinion, it sort of makes the question even more complicated, because it comes back to it. Okay, well, now if you're applying the waiver, does that mean that the bylaw actually does really exist for the project? But we're not going to answer that probably ever. So I feel comfortable moving forward with the project with the waivers that they're requesting. I would say, though, the applicant at the last hearing offered to provide some mitigation sand for the groins, because I don't think anyone's contesting that groins do trap sand, at least seasonally. So if they're willing to do that and could provide us a plan for how they're going to do that and to what extent, that would make me feel even more comfortable with this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. And I agree. I was going to mention the sand mitigation factor as well, because I think although the shoreline, I guess it's to the west, is eroding naturally, so it's much further back. It has that added issue of being starved from sand from that groin. So that would be really great if we could mitigate that way. Yes, Mark?
Just to that point, if I may, we own a very small piece of the bank to the west of the groin, with an area that actually previous order of conditions does allow some sand placement and maintenance of that slope with beach grass, which has been ongoing for many, many years now from a previous order from, I think, 5 or 6 years ago. We would be happy to continue to, place sand on that western side as needed, as erosion cuts back there, and we could provide, quarterly or annual reports of, how much material is actually placed, if that would be sufficient for the commission.
I know that sounds good to me. I'd like others to weigh in as well, but again, thank you for agreeing to do that. And Linda, I see your hand up.
If you want comments from the rest of us, I agree with what Seth said, and I appreciate the applicants giving a regular report, whether it's quarterly or every 6 months or once a year. But I agree with you, and I agree with Seth, so I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And in response to what Mr. Ritz is describing, I think it almost satisfies my desire, but if there's any assessment of how much sand is currently being placed or what is projected, I'd like to see not only the quarterly reports, but maybe annual projections as well based on the past trends. Thank you.
Mark?
I don't have a number currently, but we could investigate with the caretaker and determine, approximately what kind of volume has been placed on an annual basis. We don't, the area between the groins fronting our property, that tends to stay fairly full, more or less to entrapment capacity. So we're not typically placing material there, but we could provide a typical annual number for what's getting placed on that western flank.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Just because I think we need to get everything contained within this order itself, since the old order is somewhat separate. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Great, it looks like no, so we'll open 15 Hollowell Lane up for public comment. It does appear that we have some public comment on YouTube. We have Deanne Atherton, who's asking, why can't the commission obtain an opinion from town council? Deanne, we've been trying to get an opinion from town council on these types of erosion control structures and grandfathering in this area. I believe it was since late fall, but don't quote me on that. And we have yet been kind of granted that access or opinion through the process that the commission makes those requests through. So I think it's, I think Seth's assumption, and I have the same assumption, that opinion might never come at this point. And it does not appear that we have any other public comment at this point. So I guess, Will, do we have everything we would need to close?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Seth, are you wanting to wait for more robust information about the bank contribution and mitigation sand?
No, Madam Chair, respectfully, I think we've delayed the process long enough. We can just add an order or a condition in the order of conditions that says prior to the start of the repair, they need to provide that material to the staff.
Okay, perfect. Mark Ritz, I'm assuming you'd like to close.
Please.
Okay, is there a motion to close?
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Seth. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, aye, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, that carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that brings us to 30 North Beach Street LLC at 30 North Beach Street. And this is represented by Brian Madden.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the record, Brian Madden from LEC Environmental. Just going to bring up the site plans and walk everyone through the proposed site improvements for the beachside hotel property. Let's see. All right, I'm just going to start with an aerial image. Everyone could see this, my screen? Yep. Okay. So I think we're all familiar with the beachside. But just to review the resource areas, the majority of the site is located within land subject to coastal storm flowage, elevation 7. There's bordering vegetated wetland systems that kind of occurred north and south of the property. The southerly wetland system here extends down towards the Nantucket Hotel. A separate wetland system does occur on the north side and is fringing up against the northerly abutting properties off Arbor Way. The flood zone elevation does extend to the back portion of the property, where there is it hits the slope, and the slope is greater than 10-to-1, so that meets the definition of a coastal bank. So the property is kind of seaward of the toe of the coastal bank. And I've shown these resource areas on the site plans. Again, here's the BVW on the north side. And then on the south side, there's a little bit of a ring here at the base, and then it extends around and then extends off-site here. And the coastal bank is on this back slope here, mostly extending off-site. The majority of this back parking area is all within interior buffer zone areas. You can see on the aerial image, sorry, I'm toggling back and forth, that the pavement transitions to a concrete surface. It extends around the back portion of the property before it transitions back to a paved asphalt surface in the front. So you can also see in this image, there's a variety of standing water in the corners. And what a product of that is, if anyone's been out there and taken a look out in the back, what you have is some hillside seepage coming in from the corners of the property on this hillside that kind of splay out into the paved surfaces. And so some of that is kind of like some relic drainage connections out to Cliff Road. Others are just kind of just hillside seepage, as I said. So one of the critical improvements to the property is what we're proposing is to eliminate this concrete perimeter surface. And let me just pull up the proposed site plan, zoom in here. So what's being proposed here is we're removing the concrete all in this back section. And that cumulatively totals just under 26,000 square feet of concrete that's proposed to be removed. And what will be replaced with is a reinforced pervious surface with a 2-foot grass shoulder for a singular drive aisle, basically, that wraps around this side of the property. That's a one-way. The parking spaces, which are being reconfigured and consolidated, will be comprised of a pervious gravel or shell surface, but the drive aisle is a kind of a grid set on crushed stone that is stabilized but allows for infiltration. But one of the key things here is that we're proposing to add a perimeter vegetated drainage swale around the perimeter. to replace the existing pavement. And it widens out quite considerably at the toe to the coastal bank and within the 25-foot buffer zone to the bordering vegetated wetland system. There's a little finger that comes off of the southerly system in that location. And as you can see here, it widens out to about 25 feet. In other areas, it's a little bit narrower, widens here where feasible, but the one-way access around the building is kind of minimized for emergency vehicles. That's the minimum turning radius that's being required. And under existing conditions, there's very little to no stormwater treatment. There are a series of catch basins within the concrete surface, but they're not providing any treatment. They're just leaching catch basins. So the vegetated swales are going to provide some water quality treatment, and we are proposing to revegetate those areas. The bottom of the basins are going to be replanted with more wetland tolerant species. There's high groundwater conditions here, no doubt. So some of those areas may be inundated more frequently. So we spec'd out some wetter species that would be able to thrive in those conditions. And then we'll have some stabilized slopes. And again, the perimeter drive aisle is stabilized. So we're not going to have like washout of like stone and other material getting into the drainage vegetated swale. So that's a significant improvement on site. And then sheet 3 of the site plan just goes into a little bit more detail of that with some of the drainage aspects. And Ryan Maxwell from Bracken is on, can answer any of the questions associated with the stormwater management. We have a little vegetated drainage detail on the site plan here that is representative of what is being proposed for that treatment. Now, the existing catch basins are proposed to be capped with manhole and basically serve as kind of an overflow type of collection system, that if the vegetated swales fill up, there is an overflow point where there's some relief towards the catch basins. So some additional site improvements include improvements around the pool courtyard area. And we had submitted a landscaping plan that I'm going to get into in just a second. But the only exterior structural work that's being proposed here is there's a hallway between these two buildings. It's a covered hallway. That area is just being enclosed. So there's no real changes in the structural footprint of any of the buildings out here. So I'm just going to switch over to the beach, the pool courtyard area, and as that loads up. So the proposed pool itself is going to be reconfigured. This portion of it, which is on the south side, is going to be a kid-friendly shallow pool area. The pool itself is going to be increased by approximately 400 square feet, but we're mitigating that via the removal of the concrete, the 26,000 square feet of concrete that's being removed on the parking surface. There's also an additional about 5,800 square feet of concrete and brick set in concrete that is being removed around the existing pool area. And so what we're proposing to do, based on past comments from the Conservation Commission, is the pool itself, which is at grade. And here's a quick little photo of it right now, is going to be elevated. So the flood zone elevation is elevation 7. The top of the pool elevation is 7.5. So we are preventing the pool waters from mixing with storm waters during that 100-year flood. The decking around the patio, the pool area is also proposed to be elevated to allow floodwaters to pass through. We put some elevations on this landscape plan. The back portion is elevation 7.5, which is the elevation of the pool. And then it drops down to elevation 6 here. You can see there's some steps and a ramp that goes up to the taller back piece. This is at a lower elevation. And then the brick patio, concrete patio area is going to be replaced with a bluestone patio set, dry laid patio set in stone or sand rather, to allow for some greater infiltration. There's some additional pavement that's also being removed over in this location. But the intent is to design this courtyard area that's going to be an improvement for flood protection and storm damage prevention and flood control. So that coupled with the parking and drainage and stormwater improvements, we feel is a significant improvement over existing conditions. The pool itself is outside the 100-foot buffer zone, but we are requesting waivers for some of the drainage and improvements within the 25-foot buffer zone around the perimeter of the wetland system, abutting existing paved or concrete surfaces. So with that, I've talked long enough. I'll stop sharing and can pull up any materials as questions come up. But thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Linda?
This may be a stupid question. When the Waynes owned it back in the day, it didn't have that back wing. When they built that back wing is when they put that concrete thing all the way around that back section. We're going back 40 years, if not more. And I'm kind of curious, probably irrelevant, but I'm kind of curious why you're disturbing all that and why you're taking up the concrete to put shell or gravel in front of guest rooms. I've been driven around that back several times over the years for other various functions. And you're going to surround that entire back 2-story wing with gravel and shell, and you're going to drive on it and people are going to sleep back there. I mean, it's off topic, but I remember when the concrete was put in there for a reason when the Waynes built it, because they had to go to the zoning board back in the day. So I think it's back as far as the 70s. And I'm just morbidly curious why you're disturbing all the area around it. That taking up that concrete that's been there for 40, 50 years is not going to be some easy task, given that it's surrounded by the wetlands and the bluff. And I'm curious why you're doing it and how you're going to do it to protect everything around it. A little black fence is not going to be enough, given the disturbance it's going to take something out that's been there that long.
Thank you, Linda. I'll give that to Brian. I have a feeling they wanted to increase the buffers to the wetland with more kind of pervious surfaces, but I know they've done all the calculations. So Brian?
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, the concrete is not in the best of shape, but there are significant drainage issues, especially in those two back corners, as I mentioned, that's evident on the aerials. Those, routinely experience standing water. That's a significant issue. So the need to have some additional drainage to help control the water and improve the overall flood situation back there is important. This has gone through, or is currently going through planning board review. And one of the comments that did come up was initially this was going to be a completely gravel or shell surface all the way around. And as a response to some of the butters feedback, that's why there was a conversion to the stabilized, reinforced paver situation that you're not going to get I guess, noise associated with that, comparable with driving on a gravel or shell. And, it also stabilizes that surface, allows for the infiltration, but it doesn't create a scenario where you're getting washout of material into the drainage swales. So, we thought that that would be a significant improvement over existing conditions, and certainly with the pool expanding a little bit, we're cognizant of flood zone performance standards to avoid any potential for reducing the land's ability to absorb and contain floodwaters. We are significantly improving that in this situation via the removal of the concrete and all the other measures that are being proposed.
Through you, Madam Chair, a couple more questions, if I
Right.
may.
Go ahead, Linda.
Brian, the surface that you're using, it's not grasscrete, but it's those blocks that have they're porous surfaces, but they're hard surface.
Yeah, it's like the grid stabilized
Yep.
surfaces where it's set in stone, but it's a stabilized surface.
Yeah, I just can't remember the name of those blocks. I was just talking about them the other day. My other concern is when you start to pull up this concrete, I mean, it's right. I mean, you walk 1 foot off the concrete and you're in the wetlands on the north and the south and the west side. When you pull up this concrete, and it's going to create a mess. I mean, it's not that easy to get it up. How are you going to protect that? As I said, the black plastic is not going to do it. How are you going to protect from all the little pieces and the dust and everything else from getting into the wetland around that northeast, northwest, and south?
Yeah, so I would imagine, and I haven't asked this question directly, but I would imagine maybe some of the fringe areas would be jackhammered out, because you don't really want to have a big machinery or an excavator arm, right up against the edge of those surfaces where we are going to set the erosion control. But I imagine once you break that up along the edges, you kind of move out from the exterior inward, and it will become easier as you progress off of the edge.
Is this something that we should, through you, Madam Chair, is this something that when we do the order, is this something that we should put in, that there is regular visits to the site by staff as this is happening, just to make sure that this is not creeping?
Yeah, I think we could condition that in. We can also, like maybe in addition to the black silt fence you're talking about, require some straw wattles in places that we're a little bit more worried about. They could be like, they're more robust at the bottom of a silt fence.
Okay. I've seen that done. I've been involved with something where they took up the concrete and it was not a pretty picture. But they were next to a substantial wetland between us and the hotel, and the north side going towards the what used to be the tennis courts, and certainly up against the bluff.
Yeah, well, thank you for expressing these concerns. I think hopefully we'll get everything conditioned appropriately. Mike, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks, Linda, for your concerns. But I just wanted to say it seems like a huge improvement to me, getting rid of the concrete and moving to the impervious surface. So I would be in support. And I did visit the site and take a look down there, and it is not, the concrete is not in the best of shape in the back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any other commissioners' questions or comments? It looks like no right now, so we'll open 30 North Beach Street LLC up for public comment. Does not appear that we have any public comment at this point. I'll keep checking on it. Will, do we have everything we would need to close this one?
Yes, we do.
Still not seeing public comment. So, Brian, would you like to close?
Please.
Okay. Is there a motion to close? Mark Beal, you're making that motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Mike. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Right, that carries unanimously.
So much.
Thank you. And that brings us to Pocomo LLC at 61 Pocomo Road, Proprietors Road, represented by Art Gasparo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Arthur Gasparo, I know my screen today just has my first name, but to let you know, so we are here before you for the second public hearing related to the project at 61 Pocomo Road, as well as the adjacent Proprietors Way that we discussed at the last meeting for the extension of the 16-foot long extension of the stabilized fiber roll array and the relocation of the sand delivery way that would be used to maintain the project. We had continued the hearing in order to allow time for review from Natural Heritage, and we did today receive their conditional approval, which staff was copied on. And I don't believe there was any additional or outstanding questions or concerns from the commission. And I won't take more of your time, but I'd be happy to address anything else that you may wish to discuss related to the project.
Thank you, Art. I'm glad Heritage came through for you at the last moment, as they generally do. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like no. So we'll just make sure there's no public comment on Pocomo LLC, 61 Pocomo Road. Those would have come out last time. I don't see any public comment at this point. So Will, do we have everything we need to close?
Yes, Art, you're the only one that Heritage wanted to issue a letter.
Extra lucky. Art, would you like to close? Is
Yes, please.
there a motion to close?
So
Motion.
move, Madam Chair.
Ian got you, so I'm going to give Ian the motion.
Second.
You the second. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, that carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Art. And that moves us on to 49A Meadowview Drive LLC at 51 Meadowview Drive, represented by Brian Madden.
Brian Madden for the applicant. This lot was before you. Let's see, it was issued an order of conditions. I'm trying to look it up. Within the last year or so, 2021, June 2021. And the lot was being subdivided, and so now it's being filed under 51, which is the new address. So given the lot creation, we had submitted a new notice of intent, coupled with a minor modification that's being heard later on in the agenda. But the new work is a proposed garage out in the back portion of the site and a small little concrete game court area. And that will be accessed via a grassed kind of driveway connection. There's not going to be any real improvements to that grass path. It's just to show access back to the garage. All the structures are outside the 50-foot buffer zone. No work within the 25-foot. No waivers required for this project. So it's relatively straightforward, and I'll turn it over to questions.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like no. So we'll open up 49A Meadowview Drive. That's located at 51 Meadowview Drive for public comment. And I guess while we're waiting for potential public comment, Will, do we have everything we would need to close this one?
Indeed.
And Brian, I'm assuming you'd like to close.
Yes, please.
It does not appear that any public comment is coming through. So is there a motion to close?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Linda. Is there a second? Seconded by Mike. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, that carries unanimously. And that moves us on to Netta Movagar Revocable Trust at 9 Woodbury Lane, represented by Brian Madden.
Thank you very much. Brian Madden, representing the applicant. So the proposed project involves a reconstruction of a single-family dwelling and appurtenances on this lot. This is the parcel that was adjacent to the Woodbury Lane home that exploded, and I believe I was in a year or two ago for the redevelopment of that particular lot, which I think has just wrapped up. And so this this lot itself, the house on it was previously demoed. It was damaged by the explosion, and it's been demoed for a little while. So what's remaining is the back detached structure in a stone patio area that's centrally located in that darker hashed area, with some prior lawn areas back to the existing retaining wall in that northwesterly corner of the property. There's an off-site vegetated wetland that's located to the west, that is shown as previously flagged and extended. No work on the lot is located within the 50-foot buffer zone. Everything's in excess. A portion of the proposed structure is within the 100-foot buffer zone, as is the back shed area and a portion of the patio. There is a proposed pool on the subject parcel, but that is outside the 100-foot buffer zone. Coming from the back portion of the property towards Woodbury Lane, the topography slightly descends. So the wetland, offsite wetland, is actually at a higher elevation than where all the proposed work is being proposed. But we are proposing to have a silt fence installed along the back portion of the limit of work as shown. And we are requesting a waiver for that 2-foot separation to high groundwater for the crawl space foundation of the structure. But again, that wetland is at a higher elevation than the proposed work. So there's not going to be any adverse effects to that wetland. And we dismissed a full basement in the 100-foot buffer zone, and best management practices will be installed during and post construction, similar to what occurred on the adjacent lot. That was just recently completed as approved. But with that, I'll turn over to questions.
Thank you, Brian. So Will, could you stop screen sharing? Awesome, thank you. So I see Linda's hand up, and then I saw flashes of hands, but those of you who put your hands up, can you just do that again? Because I didn't actually catch most of you. Ian, I thought I saw yours. Okay, so I'll go to Linda and then you, Ian.
I have to recuse from this because I'm the one who got the house down and was involved with the builders, the engineers, and the building department to take the damaged structure down. So I have to recuse.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Ian?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So, Brian, when you say the wetland is at a higher elevation. And does that mean there's going to be water in the crawl space? And is there going to be pumping involved to keep it dry?
Yeah, so good question. So there, similar to what was installed next door as approved, there's a hydrostatic relief system proposed around the crawl space foundation. Basically, it's an overdig, and you backfill with crushed stone. So it's proofing the footing for the crawl space. The water, there's no like permanent pumping post construction. It's basically any groundwater leach out will naturally infiltrate or find its way. There's a drain line system in the Woodbury Lane subdivision that was designed to collect some of that runoff drainage. If you look at all the lots, they all have like or majority of them have drainage easements along the side property lines where they connect to the larger drain system as part of the subdivision. The crawl space foundation has been minimized for that intrusion, and so that's why like the full basement was dismissed due to those high groundwater conditions. And we had estimated based on the soil testing that did take place out there that it's at variable depths, but it ranges between 3 to 5.5 feet below the existing surface. It's variable across the lot.
And does it go into Lily Pond or does it go into the town sewer system?
I believe I haven't seen the old subdivision plans for the initial development, but my understanding that there are some outlet points to the wetland system south of Woodbury Lane. I just don't know exactly where those are.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ian. Seth, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Was a slab or frost wall foundation considered as an alternative?
I think a good question. I think in order to provide that hydrostatic relief system, you're still doing the same overdig. So it's somewhat comparable to remove any undesirable material so it infiltrates better than the existing conditions, because you want to get any of that groundwater buildup off of the foundation. So I think it's somewhat comparable.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like not at this point, so we'll open up 9 Woodbury Lane for public comment. Does not appear that we have public comment at this point. Will, do we have everything we would need to close?
Yes, we do.
Brian, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
Is there a motion to close? Motion made by Ian. Is there a second? Seconded by Mark. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, aye. Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski.
Aye.
All right, so that carries with Commissioner Williams recused. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
And that moves us on in our meeting. We have no amended orders of conditions. We have no RDAs. So that brings us to minor modifications. We have one for 49A Meadowview Drive, represented by Brian Madden.
Thank you very much. For the record, Brian Madden from LEC. So as I mentioned previously, for the 51 Meadowview application, back when it was referred to as 49A, the order of conditions was issued in June 2021, approving the construction of the dwelling, pool, pervious driveway, grading, landscaping, utilities within the buffer zone to the BVW. the lot is currently under construction, but so we filed the minor modifications because it's reflective of some minor updates, reconfiguration to the dry laid stone patio outside the 50-foot buffer zone, some minor improvements to the driveway and the locations of the subsurface infiltration systems. And so that's all consistent with what was shown on that plan of record. But just to keep that distinction, the minor mod was filed as it more related to the original approval versus the new work.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? All right, looks like no. Will, do we have everything we would need to issue the minor mod?
Yes, we do.
Brian, I'm assuming you'd like us to issue tonight.
Yes, please.
Is there a motion to issue the minor mod?
I'll move, Madam Chair. I'll second Mike's motion.
Perfect. I was going to say Mike got you. So Commissioner Mazzarelli with the motion, Commissioner Williams with the second. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, that carries unanimously.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Brian. And that moves us on to certificates of compliance. We've got a big night here for our certs.
Wow.
We'll begin with, I'm not sure if that's Nator or Natori LLC at 34 Dukes Road. I do not think we have Jeff Blackwell on, so will we be, oh, is that you, Jeff, on the iPhone?
Yes, I am.
Perfect.
And can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, yes.
I'm having a little transmission, but I don't think you need to see me. Nothing's improved on this end, so if you can hear me, well, we can do this, I think.
Okay, yep, we can hear you.
This is a request to close out an order of conditions that had been, there'd been a minor modification for a revision to the stone wall along the Dukes Road side of the property. The project was completed in substantial compliance with the order of conditions, and they just, they want to clean up the permit. So here I am.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like no. Will, have you guys been out? Oh, Linda, I see your hand up.
I have to recuse from this one also. I did some of the hardscape for them,
Okay, thank you, Linda.
as well as the next one, 45 Hulbert. I'm the one who got the house out of there and rebuilt.
Okay, so, okay.
These are old, I take it, because I did these some time ago.
Yes, it sounds like some of them might be a little older. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so Will, have you been out to the site to check the conditions there?
Yes, everything is as stated on the plan. And I have, we did condition for the pool conditions, and I think lighting conditions as well, if we want to continue them. 19 through 22.
Okay, could you just read those for us so they're kind of
Yes.
in the record?
So 19, pool shall not be chemically treated between November 1st and May 1st. 20, all chemical treatments shall stop 3 weeks prior to any draining or discharging of the pools. 21, the pool drainage or discharges shall be removed from the site. 22, all lighting shall be directed downwards and away from the resource area.
Thank you, Will. If there aren't any questions from commissioners, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the cert with ongoing conditions 19 through 22? Mark Beal, are you making that motion? Okay, so motion made by Mark. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Seth. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Harrisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski.
Aye.
All right, so that carries with Commissioner Williams recused. And that moves us on to 51 Oceans Avenue Nominee Trust at 51 Oceans Avenue, also represented by Jeff Blackwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is another permit that's several years old, and the stairs were completed a couple of years ago, and we're cleaning up the outstanding order of conditions and want to close that out. The stairs were constructed per the permit, and the bank is stabilized, I believe, very nicely. And I think I included some pictures with the request for certificate of compliance. So I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like no. Will, have you been out to the site and do you have any recommendations?
Yep. Everything is as it's supposed to be, and we don't have any ongoing conditions for this one.
Okay, perfect. So if there aren't any questions from commissioners, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the cert without any ongoing conditions? It looks like Mike is giving the thumbs up to make that motion. Is there
I'll
a
second it. I'll second it, Madam Chair.
seconded by Linda? So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Harrisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Right, that carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that moves us on to Wallace Ack LLC at 45 Hulbert Avenue, also represented by Jeff Blackwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a project that was completed about a year and a half ago. And the site, soils and vegetation is all stabilized nicely. Everything looks to be in order per the permit that was also amended for installation of an underground propane tank. But I believe this one is in very close compliance with the order of conditions. I'm happy to step back and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like no. Will, have you been out to the site and do you have any recommendations?
Yep. Everything's in compliance. There were two potential ongoing conditions. 120 or lighting condition. All interior and exterior lighting shall be directed away from the resource areas with the exception of land subject to coastal storm flowage. And then there was one more condition on this permit that I'm not sure if anybody can remember 3 years ago, but this may still be relevant. There was a condition, no new irrigation system or expansion of an existing system is to be installed. That seems very specific.
I mean, I would assume it should continue on this site.
Yeah.
What number was that, Will?
So that would be 23.
23.
So numbers 20 and 23 continuing.
Perfect. And Seth, I just saw your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Respectfully, I think we should just carry forward 20 through 23, which I can read out or Will can read out.
If you have them up, Seth, if you want to read 21 and 22.
21 is the applicant shall provide a yearly soil test and written fertilizer program to gain the ability to use fertilizer on the locus. All fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides shall be applied by a licensed applicator, and those licenses shall be provided to the commission. In addition, a yearly report listing the timing, amounts, and types of all three of these substances shall be provided to the commission by December 1st of each year. And 22 is all plantings are to be native with no cultivars allowed.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see value in carrying them forward, and certainly there's no harm in doing that. So at this point, if there's no other commissioners' questions or comments, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the cert with ongoing conditions 20 through 23?
So moved.
Motion made by Seth. Is there a second?
Sure.
Seconded by Ian. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Harrisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski.
Aye.
All right, that carries with Commissioner Williams recused. And that moves us to Lenhart at 25 Dukes Road, represented by Jeff Blackwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are two orders that are before you tonight for this project. There've been the original order of conditions allowed the construction of the house and connection to the sewer line and associated landscaping. And then more recently, about a year and a half ago, a second order was issued for construction of the driveway and invasive species management and planting of orchard trees within the buffer zone. And also that allowed annual mowing to help control the invasive species. So the the work that was allowed under both orders has been completed, and the site is vegetation is stable, and I believe everything was done in compliance with the orders. So I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? It's like no. Will, have you been out to the site and do you have any recommendations?
Yes, I'm just quickly looking up the second order of conditions because I only have one here. Everything's as it's supposed to be on the plans. For the OOC ending in 2723. There's one ongoing condition. I think no permanent dewatering is permitted by this order, and all temporary dewatering is to be in an area outside the jurisdiction of the commission. That was one of them, and then I just want to bring up the other one real quick.
What number was that, Will?
Oh, sorry, for the condition, that was 19.
Okay. Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If the other COC or the other file number isn't listed on our agenda, I don't think we can hear it tonight, so they'll have to be at the next meeting.
Yeah, I would agree because I don't, I only see the one cert listed.
Yeah, it's not on the agenda, so that must have gotten missed that this is a twofer. So we have the 3723 is listed on the agenda, but not the 3496.
The 2723, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so for that one again, you're suggesting ongoing condition 19 regarding dewatering or yes. If there are not any questions or comments from commissioners, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the cert for SE 482723 with ongoing condition 19? Mark Beal, are you making that motion? Okay, and Mike, it looks like is giving the second. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Right, that carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that moves us on to Nantucket Property Trust at 13 Hollowell Lane, represented by Art Gasparo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This was a project to install a new bulkhead in front of a failing timber bulkhead and then to reconstruct the rotten timber groins. The work went very well and was done in substantial compliance with the order of conditions. I'd be happy to address any questions or concerns you might have with the application. Shown in red on the plan are the elements which were installed / repaired.
Thank you, Art. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like no. Will, have you been out and do you have any recommendations?
Yep. Everything is as it's shown on the plan and no ongoing conditions.
If there aren't any questions from commissioners, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the cert without any ongoing conditions?
I'll second Mike's motion.
Okay, so motion made by Mike, seconded by Linda. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. That brings us to Green Acres Nominee Trust at 23 Cliff Road, also represented by Art Gasparo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This was an older order of conditions for a project completed some years ago up along Cliff Road on the south side of the bank that essentially is up above, Nantucket Hotel and Grant Point area. The work was completed in substantial compliance, work on the dwelling. Be happy to address questions you might have.
Thank you, Art. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like no. Will, have you been out to the site and do you have any recommendations?
All good. Everything is as appears on the plan and no ongoing conditions.
Right, perfect. So if there aren't any questions or comments from commissioners, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the cert without any ongoing conditions?
So move, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Seth. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
That carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Art. And that moves us on to Teddy Bloomer LLC at 94 Tom Nevers Road. This is SE 483095, and it looks to be a reissue. Will, did this one get lost in the mail somewhere?
I think they were actually signed out a year or two or more ago, but the signature was not legible. So they're just in the ether somewhere. But everything is good. There's, I think we do ongoing conditions on these as well, I'm assuming, right?
They should have already like been determined in the
That's all
first
been-
swing of this.
Right. So there's nothing other than,
I think we just have to vote to reissue. Mike,
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just curious, I've never seen a reissue before. What brings up a reissue? I mean, obviously you just explained the signature that got lost, but
yes,
so this would have been a certificate of compliance that was voted on, and
the original copy is just gone.
okay,
So there's record of it being voted on. We looked into it this week and everything. It's all good to be reissued, but just the original copy is MIA.
thank you.
all right, so again, I'm taking these separately just to be safe, but would somebody like to make a motion to reissue the cert for SE 483095? Motion made by Mike. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by
Madam Chair.
Linda. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
aye.
That carries unanimously. And that brings us to Teddy Bloomer LLC at 94 Tom Nevers Road, SE 483125. Also a reissue, I'm assuming the same situation. So if there aren't any questions or comments from commissioners, would somebody like to make a motion to reissue? Looks like Mark is making that motion. Is there a second? Seconded by
Sec-
Mike.
Yep.
So by roll vote, Keel,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Right, that carries unanimously. So that moves us on to orders of conditions. I think if I've counted and marked things up right, we should have 5.
Yes.
All right, so Will sent these out earlier today. And our first order is Sunset House LLC at 15 Hollowell Lane.
I think that was the one that had the ongoing monitoring of the sand before they did it.
Right. As you can see, I have these giant question marks down here. I was trying to help someone with Zoom difficulties while we were having this discussion. So prior to the start of the groin repair, the applicant shall submit, it was a monitoring report for, anybody remembers this wording?
I think it's 2 things we're looking for, two separate conditions. The first is prior to start of groin repair, the applicant shall submit a volume or a volumetric estimate of annual mitigation sand to be provided to the littoral system or to the system. Maybe just system because it's
Better more general.
yeah. And then 25, if I may. Would be to provide quarterly monitoring reports. And yeah, indicating how much sand has been placed in that period. And also how full is the area between the groin in comparison to the entrapment capacity.
The applicant shall provide a quarterly monitoring report indicating how much sand has been placed each quarter. And what was the second half of that, Seth? I'm sorry.
So that's on the area to the west of the groin, the small section where they're putting the sand. And then it also like a quarterly monitoring report indicating how much sand is being trapped by the groin in comparison to what the entrapment capacity of that groin system is.
So the applicant should provide a quarterly. So we should specify that this is for the section to the west. Correct.
Yes, and if you find it more straightforward to actually turn the second thing I'm asking for into a 26, that's fine as well.
Just do that, yeah. What can we call that
You
area?
can say documenting how much mitigation sand has been placed.
Right, but for that area to the west, we can put it, I feel like we need to have a different. something to
I mean,
do
you
with
could
the
just
two.
say the area immediately, west of the groin system, because there's only a small area that's on property.
Right,
So kind of almost everything on property to the west of that system would probably be captured within this reporting, or we'd want it to be. And then Ian, I do see your hand up and I'll go to you. I just want to not overload Will and trying to write these all at once.
Understood.
easily overloaded tonight. All right, and then the applicant. So indicating the volume of sand placed in the actual groin system.
Well, the sand's not being placed in the groin system, it's being trapped by the groin system, so indicating what the volume of the sand is that has been trapped naturally by that process in comparison to what the total entrapment capacity is.
Does this make sense? Honest question.
Capacity.
I'll just take the last 3 words out.
I mean, I think it makes sense, but Seth, do you
Yeah,
want-
if you could just add entrapment before capacity, I would appreciate it.
and then Ian, your hand was up or had been up.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. So the way this is drafted, and please correct me if I'm wrong, they could come back and said that they used 2 teaspoons of sand. And there wouldn't be very much we could do about it. And we're all concerned about the erosion to the west. So can we either add a condition that, we insist that they come back if we consider it insufficient? Because right now, I mean, clearly we've got a significant end scar.
I mean, could we change condition 24 to read prior to the start of groin repair, the applicant shall come back and provide that volumetric estimate?
Yes, and I think, that needs to be approved by the commission and possibly modified going forward.
I mean, I think that's an important catch, just in case that it's a very low volume.
Right.
Um,
Sorry to add to your labor there, Will, but I do think it's important.
Let's say,
maybe you can say shall submit a volumetric. Oh yeah, go ahead. I
I was
think,
just gonna say this report shall be submitted to the Conservation Commission for approval prior to the start of work.
And shall be subject to modification of the commission's, you know,
So-
discretion.
yeah, or we can say this report, this, I don't know if it's a report, but, this information shall be submitted to the Conservation Commission for approval. Right, and I think if we didn't approve it, then we'd be amending it. Does that suffice for you, Ian?
Well, the way that's drafted, they only submit it once. And so, you know, if we find that the NSCAR continues apace, I think it would be reasonable to ask for more sand to be placed on the western side of the groin, which is within their jurisdiction. So that's why I would like us to have the ability to come to not only monitor it, but be able to increase the volume of sand if necessary. Ask them to increase the volume of sand to see what happens if necessary.
Okay, maybe we can add that to the quarterly reporting condition as far as if things have, and this is not going to be worded correctly, but if we're seeing, you know, changes to the system, possibly amending those numbers.
What if we just add a whole nother condition and say, if the reports, or if the, no, never mind. I'm just gonna add a line to 25 and 26.
And then Seth, I do see your hand up, and I also, we need to add, I think, the waivers that were discussed on here too. I don't want to overload you, Will, and have Seth start talking, but I also, Seth, you're up.
Okay, thanks.
Well, so Will, you still haven't added anything about, you know, increasing the amount of sand if the commission so deems fit.
I think he's thinking about it. I see the cursor blinking there, so he's trying to get the wording. Jeff had years of doing this on the fly, so we've got to give Will some grace. I know I could not produce grammatically even remotely okay
Point
orders
taken.
and findings
Point
on the
taken.
fly.
No, I hear what you're saying.
If we just add to 25 and 26, this report is to be reviewed by the commission.
Or, I mean, I think you could say the applicant shall provide a quarterly monitoring report to be reviewed by the commission, and just kind of put it in that sentence. And then maybe we put a condition for if we're seeing adverse impacts, then there can be adjustments made to the volume of sand. Does that kind of work for you, Ian?
Yes, completely, actually. I just, you know, my point the other day about how if we don't dot every I and cross every T these days, then we, you know, then we open ourselves to not getting the result we want.
No, you're definitely right there.
Just respectfully, Madam Chair, on this part that he's writing,
Yep, Seth.
in this specific case, I actually think adverse impacts is too broad. I think we need to specifically call out adverse impacts related to potential sand starvation.
Okay.
Or don't put potential in the actual wording, but that's,
Hey,
I
man,
mean,
you
there's
said
a potential for it happening.
All right, should adverse impacts related to sand starvation be observed?
Maybe the commission may require additional mitigation.
Yeah. You know, I have to say, this is the older you get, the way one's vanity completely disappears. I'm having to use a magnifying glass to read this on my screen.
Are we okay on that point? Because I still do have another point.
Yes, no, I
Yeah.
know you're in the queue. I think Will's finished, yes.
So I needed Ian's magnifying glass because it has become apparent that 26 that we just spent time drafting is very similar to actually what 21 says. So we could probably merge some of that language together.
So Seth, do you think you want to combine the later condition with 21?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't necessarily have a preference for the 2 months versus 3 months. If anyone has a preference, that's fine. I think this report that we're asking should obviously have photographs, should have the date and time portion of the tide cycle, but should also have this assessment of how much sand is mathematically in the system related to the entrapment capacity.
If we add this language, would you prefer that we add this language into the 25 and 26 or merge this all into one somehow?
Oh, you're muted, Seth.
I think you can just take everything in 21 and put it into 26, except if someone has a preference for the 2 months versus quarterly, you decide. I think the quarterly is fine personally.
I think the quarterly is fine. It just seems silly to ask them to do it 2 months and then for one thing and then 3 months on another.
Yeah, I agree. I think the quarterly, the 3 months is fine.
And I misspoke. I think I said 26, but I meant 25, which he's
It was 26 when you first said it, and then I deleted it and it turned into 20.
all right. And then also, yes, Madam Chair, I agree. We do need to put the waivers that have been requested and we need to appropriately justify them based on the discussion that was had.
Yes. Seth, you are our undisputed waiver expert. Did you happen to write down the waivers, or do you have kind of suggestions?
Let me read this first. And then I think in this case, we should just be very careful and only use the waiver that relates to pre-existing use. Okay, that condition is fine. Let me get the waiver number here.
It should be 393D. 393F3D.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So 390 F3D.
Yeah, 393F3D.
Um, So the commission finds that we're only going to talk about pre-existing grandfathered use. It's pretty simple, right? The commission finds that this project qualifies as a grandfathered structure and therefore waivers are granted under 393F3D.
Have some typos in here as well.
Are you talking about the blue underlines?
Yeah, that has to be a capital T, but I don't know what's wrong with indication, but the capital T above that to the right. Up here, up
There's
one more.
nothing- There's nothing wrong with indication.
I didn't think so, but the T up there needs to be a capital, but I don't know why it's got indication underlined. It doesn't make any sense. Because the word is fine.
Indication of, it's too many words.
Oh, it's missing and indication, what portion. That's why it's missed. That's why it's underlined. Yeah, there you go.
So in related to the waivering section, are we going to go ahead and call out all of the performance standards that the waiver is being applied to?
We should, because it was beach, bank, and land under the ocean, right? That they called out specifically.
Yes.
Um,
A period after use.
Should that be right now here?
and I
After
mean,
the
this
period.
one, if we feel more comfortable, we could kind of continue drafting and allow Will a little bit more time to wordsmith and not do it on the fly and vote on this next time, if that makes kind of people feel more comfortable as well.
I think that wouldn't be a bad move.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Because there's enough amendments and I think enough
Right.
kind of complicated conditions and waivers that I think the discussion is important in guiding Will to fully draft this. And then, we'll be back in a mere 2 weeks to be able to look at this again.
Hey, there's always Chat GP, Will.
No.
Anything else though that we might want to add, just so that Will puts it into the draft for us to look at on the 6th? Right, looks like no. So then we'll continue Sunset House LLC order of conditions until the April 6th meeting for a vote.
Put a period after pre-existing use, just to make me happy.
But the sentence isn't done yet, Linda.
Put
I
dot,
know, or
dot, dot.
or dot, dot, dot,
Here you
or
go.
dot, dot, dot. There you
Give
go.
you an ellipsis.
Again, Will, I appreciate your ability to keep humor while trying to draft on the fly. It is not something that I would be able to do. My brain would be exploding. So I appreciate that. So again, Sunset House, we will look at next time. That moves us on to 30 North Beach Street LLC at 30 North Beach Street.
All right.
And that's the one with the language about regular review by the staff when they're starting to rip that stuff up.
So we have 1819, the basics. Pool conditions, the pool shall not be drained or discharged into an area within the commission's jurisdiction. Pool shall not be chemically treated between November 1st and May 1st. All chemical treatments shall stop 3 weeks prior to any draining or discharging of the pool. Contact information for the pool company. All exterior lighting directed away from the resource area in compliance with chapter 102. All plantings are to be native species with no cultivars, and then added in during the removal of the concrete pad, staff will make regular site visits to determine if material is entering resource areas as a result of demolition. Excuse me. And 27 straw wattles shall be used in addition to silt fencing along the edge of the concrete to be demolished.
Thank you, Will. Any questions, comments, amendments to this order?
Madam Chair, through you, you should probably make, obviously you do because you let them go, but site use before they start tearing up the concrete, you always go and check to see if the silt fences and the hay bales are properly located, because I remember I've dealt with that before. I would make a visit really quickly after they start to tear it up, because the edges are where I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Is all that stuff getting into the wetland, and it does move around, and the dust does move.
There'll be a site visit when they put in their start work form. So prior to the start of work, I'll be doing a site visit anyway, but I'll have a date for when the work is supposed to start, and I can visit like that week or within a couple days.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, or amendments?
Well, I suppose you should say prior to the start of work, staff must be informed.
We are,
They have to do that anyways.
Yeah,
Well,
they're supposed to
But
put
we
in.
don't actually specify it, do we, Mike? I mean, that, Linda's brought up a point that it's not actually specified, it's assumed.
It is
It's in the general conditions.
wetland forms, yeah, so it's
Yeah.
in all the
Okay,
paperwork
okay.
and forms.
we are supposed to.
I'm just asking the question in general. Is that mandatory and regularly occurring that they'll notify you that they're starting work? Question for Will and Ashley.
Yes, it's on their application and the form, so that's a requirement of the applicant to do that. Or it would be the permit holder once we've issued, but yes, that's a requirement.
I can also specifically put that staff shall be notified before any concrete demolition takes place. But that is a thing that is supposed to always be happening.
Does it? I guess I'm still trying to drive at. Does it happen regularly?
I'd
Or
say
is it kind of 50-50?
the majority of the time, but we don't get a start work form for every single project, but the majority of the larger projects, we definitely do. But it's been something I've been trying to push internally.
I forgot to call you on Gully Road, Will.
Sounds like it's good to put in. So thank you.
should we just add prior to the concrete demolition work? Because that seems to be the concerning piece for people.
Yep.
All right.
Any other questions, comments, amendments? Right, it looks like no. So would somebody like to make a motion to issue as amended?
Make that motion, Madam Chair.
So Mike got you with his hand, so I'm gonna give it to Mike and I'll give you the second.
Cool.
So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, that carries unanimously. And that moves us on to Pocomo LLC at 61 Pocomo Road, Proprietors Road.
All right. We have 1819. Pool conditions. I'm just noticing here, I probably wanted to add
Well, this one doesn't have, isn't 61 Pocomo the extension of the Pocomo neighbors array, so we don't have any.
yeah, I don't know how that random pool condition got in there. That's not real. But the rest of this is legitimate. I added in this from NHESP when we just got their letter. The plantings are to be native species with no cultivars. Only work areas permitted by this order include the land specific to the project area as shown on the plan of record. No work is to be performed outside of this area. And then that's for the shorebird breeding. I don't know how that pool thing got in there.
We should probably add a condition that allows for temporary but not permanent irrigation. And Joe, I see your hand up.
Yes, I do have a question. Are you saying number 20 on Pocomo Road doesn't belong there? Because what I was going to say, when I looked at the prior one in terms of the pool conditions, I would say that there ought to be a standard package of pool conditions, and that doesn't appear on this one. All
Yeah,
it has,
there's no pool proposed.
No,
got it. Okay, thank you.
So that was a mistake carried over from
That-
another order.
don't have that copy and pasted.
And Art, I see that you have your hand up. Do you have a question or comment?
Sure. Only on for clarification, if I could, Madam Chair, just because this is a new condition that I would have been happy to discuss during the hearing, but two things I could see as differentiating. There's plantings that are proposed in the buffer zone as well as within the resource area. And I would hope that the buffer zone plantings could be irrigated longer term, just because they'll just do better and really without an adverse impact. And then the condition that was just added with work associated with the project with the time limitations, I would also hope that that could be limited to the resource areas, but that we could do work in the buffer zone. You know, obviously behind the top of the coastal bank, there's additional plantings and fencing and the changing of the access way. I don't know why that would have to be time limited. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Yeah, we can clarify that work associated with the project on the beach. As far as I'm assuming it's the plover kind of condition and other shorebirds, but Seth, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If we're going to attach the the whole letter from NHESP with the conditional approval to our permit like we do typically anyways, Why don't we just take that out?
Okay.
And then related to the irrigation, although I understand what Mr. Gasparo is saying in terms of the buffer zone, I respectfully disagree. I mean, the idea is to plant native tolerant species that are meant to handle these sandy acidic soils. So they shouldn't need irrigation. They should thrive in that environment.
And I kind of agree with you there, Seth. So well, maybe that condition reads this order permits temporary irrigation to establish native species, within the 3-year permit. Because generally speaking, within 3 years, they should be able to then sustain themselves.
Ashley, are you seeing all the members? Because I'm only seeing the order of conditions.
So with the screen share, you can kind of like shift what you see. So like I'm still seeing everybody and the screen share is a small view.
Okay, I'll have to practice that. I don't quite see it here.
Yeah, there's like kind of a slide that should be like in between the video picture you're seeing of the individuals and like where Will's screen kind of starts.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I happens to me, when he screen shares, everybody's face goes all the way over to the right and up and down. So it really depends on how you get it set up.
Right. Well, mine does that too, but then if you slide the scale, it adds more people essentially, but it depends, yes, on where your view is set. All right. Any other questions, comments, amendments to the 61 Pocomo Road order?
Nope.
Looks like no. So would somebody like to make a motion to issue as amended?
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Linda, seconded by Ian. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Harrisman, aye, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Right, that carries unanimously. And that moves us on to 49A Meadowview Drive LLC at 51 Meadowview Drive.
All right. This one I had 18, 19, and lighting condition.
Yeah, the standard ones.
Any questions, comments, amendments to this order? Looks like no. So would somebody like to make a motion to issue as drafted? Seth?
Sure.
So moved. A second.
Wait, hold on 1 second. I'm trying to clarify one thing. Is this the one where there's a pool outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, or is that the next one?
I think that's the next one, and this one had like the new grass, like driveway going to the back with the sport court and like new garage.
Oh, I believe there was a pool in this
But
one
there's a
on the site plan.
There's a spa proposed, right?
Yeah, there's an existing pool, I think.
There's an existing pool and I think a proposed spa.
Oh, I missed the proposed. Yeah, I missed that.
Let me look at the
Brian, I see you on your muted. Do you want to clarify?
Yeah, sorry. So the spa is part of this notice of intent. That was not included in the original approval. And it's outside the 50-foot.
So in that case, we should apply all of the pool conditions because they apply to spas as well, in my opinion.
No, they definitely do. I don't know how I missed that.
Will miss it too.
Mark, we can hear your ice cream.
Uh-oh, sorry.
What flavor?
The secret.
I want to know. 1 second, just copy and pasting. Oh. All right, these are all our pool conditions.
And I don't know, should we switch the language to say the spa? Because in this case, it's,
Okay, spa.
I know it's like splitting hairs, but that's
No,
what
I
it's
think you're
worded
right.
in the plan.
Some companies, the pool company probably, but I'm just gonna do that and keep it consistent. All right. It's not even late and I already can't spell spa.
It happens. And thank you for catching that, Seth. All right, so at this point, I think we've added what we need to add. So would somebody like to make a motion to issue as amended?
So
Motion,
moved, Madam Chair. Second.
it's a motion made by Mike, seconded by Linda. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Like that carries unanimously. And then do we want to talk about the Netta Movagar Revocable Trust? Which I think is on there. Awesome.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stop sharing my screen. I don't know how I did that. This is that one. We have pool conditions for the. I just want to verify though now that that was within. That may have been outside of the 100-foot.
Yeah, this is the one where we're outside the 100-foot buffer. So unfortunately, we can't put these conditions, but we can put one condition. We can put that the pool shall not be drained or discharged into the resource area.
Just a question while Will's typing, would it be inappropriate on orders of conditions as if you referred to a pool as a pool and spa, even though not necessarily all of them have spas, but sometimes they have, you know how pools have spas built into them?
Right.
Yeah, or maybe kind of in the future have pool and or spa, like just
Yeah,
as
it just
the-
covers.
I think just blanket change the language in my master list to pool/spa or pool and or spa and just have it all covered.
That's a great point. And then do we think we need the lighting condition on here?
I think mine now. may have actually just deleted it when we deleted the pool conditions. But I don't know.
Any other questions, comments, amendments?
Well, does the pool go down into groundwater? I forgot to ask that question. I missed it.
Yeah, I think we missed the point in the meeting to clarify that.
Yeah,
We respectfully don't have jurisdiction over that because it's outside the 100-foot buffer. So whether it does,
good
does
point.
not,
Thank
is
you, Seth.
not super relevant.
Right.
All right, so if there aren't any other amendments, would somebody like to make a motion to issue as amended? Motion made by Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Seth. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Harrisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski.
Aye.
So that carries with Commissioner Williams recused. And that moves us on. We have no extension of orders. So that brings us to other business. We have enforcement actions, potential enforcement actions. Will,
Hello.
anything new?
I wasn't sure if we want to talk about the SBPF enforcement that you had mentioned at, is it a couple meetings ago now?
I think that one's probably better discussed under a specific SBPF item number. Just because I'm sure there'd be individuals who, would either want to be here or
Right.
actively viewing. And they should be back in front of us on April 6th.
Right.
So I think any comments that commissioners have about the potential enforcement order and how it's drafted should probably go to you directly, Will. And then we can talk about those collectively next meeting, I think is probably the safest course of action there.
And other than that, no.
So then that moves us on to summary of work reports. And I know we had Capam, Gibbs, and Pest House Pond. Oh, Ian, are you raising your hand?
Yeah. So what's the state of play on Gully Road? When are we going to have town council involved in a discussion on Gully Road?
That'll be April 6th.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry for that, if the date was mixed up at any point, but April 6th they'll be on, so that'll be on the agenda under other business.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Ashley.
Yep. Yes, Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are we going to discuss Hummock Pond, 289 Hummock Pond further or no?
So I was going to bring that up in commissioners' comments just because it's not listed as an enforcement, but we do need to circle back, Will, and I'm going to come in tomorrow, I think, to make sure that you, Jeff, and I connect on all these old ones, because I know you were trying to connect with him, and I don't know that that's happened, so I'm going to force it with all three of us.
Things have been a little wild, but I have not forgotten.
Yeah, because especially the Hummock Pond Road one, I'm worried that thing's going to end up on the beach. Like they need to be in here and dealing with that. But again, it's not specifically listed. So if you guys haven't gone out and communicated with them yet, I don't want to drum up a new discussion item that we don't have maybe the background on.
I can circle back with Jeff tomorrow, and if you come in tomorrow, we can talk about it, but I'll see if I think he was going to reach out to someone at Toscana or somebody involved with the project. I'll see if he's learned anything, but I have not heard anything new about that at all.
Yeah, so I think we're at the point where they need to be required to come before us and give us an update, so we can cross that bridge maybe tomorrow.
Yes.
So again, we have work reports in our packet. I don't know if anybody has any questions or if they'd like to, forward questions on to Will or any comments. Not, we'll move on. We have reports from CRAC.
Unfortunately, I missed the last meeting, so I have nothing to report.
Okay. CPC.
Well, it must be going around, actually. I missed the last meeting also, but it was on Tuesday last, and they approved a bunch of requests for funds. And that's what happened.
Okay. NP and EDC.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The NP and EDC accepted the open space and recreation plan for approval. It needs to also be approved by the planning board, and then ultimately will need to go to the select board for final approval. But this plan, it's an update of a plan, allows us to maintain the ability as the town of Nantucket to receive grant funding for work related to open space and recreation, which is obviously important for the Conservation Commission's goals. So if anyone wants to follow along in that process, probably link into the select board process, but we will hopefully have that completely finalized very soon.
Thank you, Seth. And then we have the harbor plan.
Well, I also missed that meeting because I was tied up at a housing authority meeting that went long, but I understand it was a very productive. Will can probably speak to that.
I can provide an update. I'm not your
Seth too.
representative,
Yep.
but I am on the commission or the committee. We have essentially got to the point where we have adopted planning boundaries for the Nantucket and the Nantucket Harbor. So what the plan will actually encompass from a geographic perspective. And we will be very soon submitting the notice to proceed to the state, who has to actually accept our notice to proceed and allow us to proceed with the update of the plan, which will then ultimately kick off the public meeting process probably in the summer. There was also a discussion and a review of the last plan from 2009, looking back at all of the actions that have been completed or ongoing or continuing to need work. And we'll be looking at which of those need to be carried forward or which of them are no longer relevant.
Thank you, Seth. And then that brings us to the new offshore wind work group. Joe?
I did not miss a meeting because the last meeting was July 7th of 2022. So I have no idea what's going on over there. I went through and I read everything I could find. And I'm on hold waiting for somebody to say there'll be a meeting, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Seth was right when he said, this is a good one for you, Joe.
Well, you might even not be our representative if it goes till July again, because we
That's
can
true.
transition at that point.
True.
Well, there you go. All right, so that's it for our report. So commissioners' comments? Seth?
Another great meeting, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know we are trying to accomplish a relatively short meeting, and I hopefully won't disturb that goal too much. But I had been told via email and via the original agenda posting that this would be the date that we discussed our land holdings and open space goals. I don't see that on the agenda anymore, unfortunately. So
Yeah,
I will let us talk at a different meeting, but it really needs to happen.
Yep. So respectfully, Seth, I ask that that be removed without any information in the packet for commissioners as far as the land holdings that we have. I didn't feel that we could have a true discussion without some of that background information provided to us. So I asked that, we'll take that off until we have the information for a discussion. I do realize that you've done a lot of work on your end, and it is an important topic. But I just want to make sure we have the information for, a more well-structured discussion, I guess.
That is fine. Thank you.
Ian, I saw your hand up, and then Joe, I saw your hand up.
You did, Madam Chair. Thank you. So I got a call from a neighbor to 27 North Liberty. And apparently the 100-year-old lilacs that were on the land bank's property have been cut down. And so
Today, yeah.
And so I know apparently the land bank representative did go out there to discuss with the new owner. I'm not sure if Will knows anything about this, but it sounds, and apparently the neighbor also wondered how accurate the surveys were, but she was suitably upset that 100-year-old lilacs had been cut down and wondered if it was within our purview to pursue what actually happened.
I saw that. Is that, Ian, was that across from right on the turn? Because I went down there today and I saw all those trees in a bunch just cut down to the stubs.
That's
I was
exactly
shocked.
where it is. Yeah.
I was shocked. I had no idea, if they're not town trees, there's not much they can say about it, but they better figure out if it's on land bank property or not.
Well,
Or town
apparently
property.
this neighbor felt that there was at least one tree that, according to an earlier survey, was not on this individual's property who's doing the cutting. And, but the land bank is aware of it. And did you hear anything about this, Will?
Just right now from you.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe, Will, you guys in the office can do a little sleuthing to see what sort of wetlands issues this might apply to.
Yeah, so all I have in my inbox is an email from Claire at the land bank asking if 27 North Liberty had a permit. So no other information, but I was out Monday and Tuesday of this week. I'll look into that tomorrow.
You can't miss them. It was pretty
I know
egregious.
exactly where it is. I remember this NOI and whatnot.
Some of them looked fairly far away from the house. They seemed to be sort of hanging in a group by themselves. And I didn't have time to stop. There was somebody behind me, but it was sort of shocking that I'm looking at a bunch of stubs.
All right, well, this will be something to look into for sure. Joe, I had seen your hand up, and then Mike, I know your hand's up as well.
I had 3 items that I had on my list. One was was already mentioned, and that was the Seth's land issue. The second one is we spent a few meetings on regulations. I haven't heard anything about where that stands right now.
It's waiting in the town council queue.
So
Where it could
got
go
it.
to die.
And the last one I have is there apparently is going to be an April 11th meeting with the select board. Hopefully we can stick with that date because that's 3 weeks out and we don't want to go, I don't think we want to go any further out than that.
No, I as far as I'm aware, that date is set.
Okay, good.
Again, I have HTC, but we'll have to wait and see what comes up that night for me.
Yes. And Mike?
Thank you. I just wanted to just commend and thank everybody. A lot of hours went into Conservation Commission this week. And just kudos to fellow commissioners for a long week.
Thank you, Mike. I wish all the individuals who complain would apply for positions like this so that they could understand that it does take a lot of time. So that looks like that's it for our commissioners' comments. Will, do you have any staff reports?
I have nothing too interesting right now. But thank you all for doing what you do. And thank you for a good meeting, Ashley.
Thank you. And the thanks goes right back to you. Without you and Lisa and Jeff, we'd be completely lost. So it's all teamwork. All right, guys. So we're at the point in the meeting where we need a motion to adjourn. A motion made by
Moved.
Joe, seconded by
second.
Linda. So by roll call,
Mark.
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Nizzarelli,
Aye.
Landowski,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Right, that carries unanimously and this meeting is adjourned.
Good
And
night, everybody.
good night.
Aye.
Thank you.
Will, I'll reach out tomorrow. Awesome.
Very good.
All right, good
Night.
night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.